Welcome to the Hawaii Wedding Podcast by HNL Studios. My name is Charles and this is Keshia. And today on the podcast, we had Caitlin and Christopher, a newlywed couple that got married in October 2021. We both know them personally, and we wanted to invite them on this podcast to just share about their experience, about what it was like planning a wedding during the pandemic, about what it was like choosing vendors and venues, and just what it was like for them to just actually go through with the wedding. It was an amazing conversation. As you can tell, you'll be able to hear what it was like for them.
I think it was insightful, and they shared a lot of valuable lessons and some great tips. And I think the story that, sharing everything they went through is something that can also help inspire other couples who are, planning their wedding day and are going through certain struggles. And I think it's going to be a good help for them. Yeah,
definitely. They did go through quite a lot of struggles, which you'll find in the podcast today. They also shared some really great resources at the end of the podcast. So stick around and make sure you get them. And yeah, here we go.
How is work today? I mean, I know it's Tuesday.
Stressful. That was a lot. But we made it. I got home later than I wanted to, but we're here. So thanks.
Work for me was all right. It was but less stressful than his day, but yeah, I work from home, so I didn't have a commute or traffic or anything to worry about.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes the commute adds to it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Versus, the actual work itself. If I could ask, what do you do, Christopher?
I work at Inspired Church for in kind of the accounting department, and then just anything else basically that we need to do. So full time there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, when you're with ministry, I think you do end up, you have your main role, and then anything else that needs a hand, everyone has to pitch in. And
pretty much.
I'm sure it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Very fast moving, but it's definitely fun for sure.
Definitely. And do you deal with a lot of numbers?
Yes, there's a lot of numbers and a lot of admin stuff. I answer the phone a lot too. So it's just a lot of hats, but it's really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, I guess I understand, thinking that, the work is not really just that, but that you're doing stuff for people really and their lives.
Yes.
So I guess it's really just that vision.
Mm-hmm.
And how about you, Caitlin?
Hawaii Home and Remodeling magazine. I'm associate editor for them.
Wow.
Yeah. But when I started, it was during the pandemic, so I've always been remote. So I just know my coworkers through video calls. But
I've never met them before.
I met a few of them in person when things started to slow down and kind of opened back up. We would do coffee meetings and stuff like that, but for the most part we're all at home in Zoom meetings for most of the day and writing and on the phone. Yeah.
How long have you been working for?
Only since March of last year, so I'm about to make a year.
Wow. Yeah. Oh wow, almost
cool.
a year.
Yeah.
Is it wow, what? I have actually not seen the magazine before.
No worries. It's a free publication, and it's outside of City Mill. So if you're ever doing a home renovation, that's where most people will go shopping, and it's posted up right outside each location in Hawaii.
I mean, I'm sure it's been good during the pandemic, since I think a lot of people went into the home improvement phase of it.
Yes, and home offices, and just everyone's doing little projects, and so we're okay for now.
Wow. And I think Charles mentioned something earlier to me, you're studying to be a pilot, or have you gotten your license?
I have my private pilot's license, which allows me to take up passengers in a small 4-seat Cessna. But I'm working toward my other ratings to hopefully work for the airlines one day or do something else that involves getting paid to fly.
That's so cool. Well, what got you? I'm curious. What got you into it?
I grew up around it. I was super close to my grandpa. He was a plane mechanic and then a professor at Honolulu Community College. And then my mom works for Hawaiian Airlines. So I grew up traveling and like being around planes. I just never thought it was possible to be able to fly as a woman. I didn't start until after college when I was living in Seattle. Then I just started taking lessons and I was like, oh, I can actually do this for work one day. So hopefully that's the case. Just going to keep on going.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think that's super cool.
Thank you. Thanks.
And yeah, I think when we first spoke with each other, I think you guys were still engaged, right?
Mm-hmm. I think we might have just gotten engaged. Yeah. And I loved how you put together like really cute templates of like how to do things in the wedding planning process, or like the email list or newsletter that people can subscribe to.
Oh wow!
And your Instagram.
You were there. Thank you so much. I mean, we really do appreciate it. And were you part of like that email list that we've been sending? Wow, that's so cool. I mean, it's great to actually, also hear from people who actually appreciate it and have been able to like put good use to it. I mean, that's definitely what we want, and we hope you guys found it useful. Like
I did, yeah. Honestly, we would have worked with you. We ended up like changing our venue, but the first venue we were at, it came with like all vendors like we were quote unquote should use. So we didn't really like go outside of that just because we didn't really know what we were doing. But you guys had a lot of good resources. So if we had to do it again, we probably would have went with you. But it worked out.
Yeah. And I think you guys, in our emails earlier, you mentioned you worked with
Vision and
Verve.
Pono guys, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Charles, we worked with Pono, I think.
Yeah, HNL and Inspire, we're like the same thing.
Yeah.
For sure. No, like a lot of them were like on our team. Like Greg was on our team, and Pono shot a couple weddings with us. Like, so for sure, yeah.
Familiar people, they're very familiar.
Yeah.
When we saw it, it was great. I mean, I watched it when you sent it to me, and it was really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we really liked it too.
And yeah, so we do want to be able to. I did send you like some questions over email, and we want to be able to ask you these questions regarding your wedding. And so we'll go ahead and start with one of the questions. And so I'll be asking the question, and you guys can just answer, and then we can have a conversation regarding it. And so we'll just have a really comfortable conversation. And so if you can remember, like one of the questions that we wanted to ask is, let's maybe start with could you tell us about your engagement and the beginnings of wedding planning for you guys?
You start.
It was very stressful. For more personal reasons, to be honest, because we got engaged the end of March. And then instead of celebrating our engagement, which is what normal people do, we had some health issues in our family that we needed to take care of, or like that happened pretty quickly. And then a month later, my dog passed away, and it was just like a whirlwind of sad things during a supposed to be happy time. So like our families, it's not that they didn't want to celebrate us. We just like had a lot going on. And we didn't really have a set like need to be married by date. I think we just started talking about when we wanted to be married by. And engagement, to be honest, was really hard, and I did not like it. I did not like planning a wedding. Christopher was very supportive and like contributed a lot to the planning, and I really appreciate you for that, but it was not a happy time for me. I just wanted to be married already. I talked about eloping and or going to the courthouse, but at the end of the day, it was really important for our family to be there and our friends, and not even to mention the pandemic and the constant changing like restrictions. So that just added to the stress. But yeah, I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think for me, I mean, it's definitely was a lot to take in, because I think planning a wedding during a pandemic is enough of a stressor. And then we kind of had this added on thing with both of our families. So the health issues one was mainly my mom. She actually ended up going to the hospital like the month after we got engaged. And so it was just like a super up and down time. But I think with wedding planning, yeah, just really starting from, kind of taking whatever the restrictions were at the time, and then kind of going from, okay, what can we do versus what can't we do, and trying to find that. And it was important for us. It really, I think, put into perspective what was most important. Like, it made us choose, like, okay, what are our absolute things that we have to have as part of our wedding? What people do we need to be there? And so I think from that perspective, it was okay, because it narrowed down a lot of options, because most of them we couldn't have. But at the same time, there's still so many ways you can do a wedding, even in COVID times. So I think from that standpoint, it was kind of like, okay, what we want to get married, we want to do it during this time, what's the most important? I'd say that's kind of my perspective anyway.
So positive.
I try.
So if you could, I know there were, some challenges that you guys encountered, and I guess the beginning of it was really stressful. You mentioned, I have a dog. I would be devastated as well, losing her, and then, dealing with family issues and, the health issues. There's definitely that tug of war, I guess, as far as priorities were concerned. How do you feel like, how did you get to a point? Did you ever get to that point where you finally were excited, looking forward to it?
We look forward to a lot of things, but because everything kept changing on us, it was really hard to kind of look forward to like the ceremony wedding parts of it, like, the photography, like the really like dream wedding type things. But I would say we're both kind of just like at the point where we're like, we're getting married on this date that we put on this card, whether it's 10 of us, 2 of us, 100 of us, like, we don't know if we have, photography or not, or what is going to happen. But I think that's kind of why it was hard, because I think I went in with a lot of expectations on, what I wanted that day to look like. And so I think for me personally, it was a lot of like letting go of some of those things and being like, you know what, that's not like, it doesn't have to be exactly how I put it in my head. It just has to be with the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and everything else is kind of gonna be what it is, But it was definitely one of those things where we're just trying to pull everything together to have it on that day. And so I think, even leading up to the day before, we were still finalizing some details. And we're just like, yeah, let's just sleep, and then we're gonna wake up, we're gonna be married tomorrow. Like, let's go.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe I revised my answer to, there were exciting parts, like when we started looking at venues, or when we started making all of our spreadsheets. Like, it wasn't always stressful. It was exciting to like look through vendors and see what we could do. But like you said, it was a roller coaster for the most part. But there were exciting parts to it. Yes.
I admire you for being excited about spreadsheets.
He's really good at making spreadsheets. I'll put it on an iPhone note. He like, this is what we should do, and he like organizes it, and I'm like, I don't get how you did that, but it looks pretty. Like, oh, so that was it.
It was teamwork for sure.
And probably like where was your venue, if I could ask?
It was called Ka Lai Aloha Estate. It is in Hawaii Kai. Yeah. And It was one of the first places I reached out to because they were the only place that would have allowed my dog. Because Bear was a big German Shepherd, so most places had size restrictions on pets. But then at the time, they only allowed 40 people. So we started, our guest list was like at 200 in the very beginning. So we said, oh, no, we can't be there. But after all the COVID restrictions, at the end of the day, we could only have 40 people anyway. And so I circled back and remembered liking that venue, even though my dog had already passed. I really liked the planner that we connected with there. And I was like, is it still possible? Like, is this date available? It was like maybe 3 weeks tops before our wedding date. And everything kind of fell into place. But it was more like 2 weeks prior.
That was crazy.
Oh, wow. Oh, Charles?
Did we lose him?
Disappeared. Yeah, I'll message him. But yeah, I mean, I can imagine like how hard it is to like lose, like, you know, I mean, planning a wedding not outside of a pandemic is hard enough. Planning a wedding with a pandemic, yeah, that's gotta be tough. And yeah, I completely like understand like what you guys went through. And you know, Ka Lai Aloha is a beautiful location. Did you work with Valen?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's amazing. Yeah, definitely. I know that can be like really overwhelming, like making these choices, taking a look at these vendors. And you mentioned like having to look at different venues and then circling back. So I know it was a journey for you guys as well. So how was that? And how did you like narrow down your choices, not just with the venue, but with your other vendors as well?
Price.
Yeah. A lot of it was budget based. I think I think Caitlin really did an amazing job of curating the vibe of what we wanted the wedding to feel like and be like, as far as color scheme and theme, as far as design wise. Like, we didn't have a themed wedding, but there was definitely like, okay, this is the vibe, this is what we're looking for. And then from that, we were able to look into, you know, do our research and see like, oh, like we want this kind of backdrop for our sweetheart table, or we want this kind of lighting. And then kind of going from there and being like, okay, maybe we can't afford that much of that lighting, but what can we do to at least have some of the elements of the vision, and kind of go from like, okay, this is, if we had unlimited money, like this is what we could do, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, what were some of the, like, when you guys were planning it, and then you guys had to like, because I know it's one thing that couples have to go through, you know, prioritizing what's important and what the non-negotiables are, and then the things that, you know, you can live without. But how did you guys go through that and deal with that?
Talk to each other.
Yeah, it was hard conversation sometimes.
I think, I don't know if I was as, not that you're complicated, but he had more of a vision for what he wanted our wedding to be. I didn't, which is a lot of people were surprised by, because I'm the bride.
I am too.
I mean, before I met him, I didn't even want to get married, to be honest. So I never like thought about these things. But he had like ideas for food and for look, aesthetic and photography. And that's why it was really helpful for him to pitch ideas. But in the very beginning of our engagement, we were just looking, I think, mostly on Instagram. HNL Studios website was really helpful because you guys have that page of different venues, and some of the places I didn't even know existed in Hawaii. So just like starting there really was helpful. And just narrowing down, like, did we want indoor? Did we want outdoor? Did we want hotel? Did we want house? Like, we kind of put everything out there. And I think we only visited 2 or 3 venues. And our first venue was a hotel, and we didn't think we'd end up choosing a hotel because of how expensive hotels can be. But at the end of the day, it ended up kind of being very similar in price, but inclusive versus doing everything a la carte, which was very surprising to me. So I was like, well, if it's going to be easier and everything comes with it, might as well just do the hotel. Obviously, it didn't work out that way.
Mhm.
But we went through the phase of planning that wedding that would have happened at this hotel. And then plans changed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, hotels do offer a lot of convenience with the food. Sometimes even have everything like the furniture, and then you get those block reservation discounts, which can be really convenient. And then, so when if you could just share, like, what did you guys feel were like the most important vendors that you ended up choosing?
The most important vendors? Can I answer? Photography and videography.
Yeah.
Anything?
I mean, for me, it's food, but I think definitely, photography and videography, just because we knew it was a moment that, would go by so quickly. So we wanted to make sure that we had both videography and photography to really capture the moment. And especially since we couldn't have our full guest list there for those of our family or friends who like couldn't make it, or we couldn't invite because, we just had to make those hard decisions, which that was also a really hard part of planning, was finalizing that guest list. I think that was a big deal for us, is for our memories, but also to be able to share it with those that weren't able to be there in person for us.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can relate. Sometimes it goes like between that, the food and the photography and videography, because the food is something that a lot of people remember as well. And then the photography is something that you guys end up, it's what you have to remember the day with. And if you could think of anything like in your wedding journey, like planning it, what would you think is there anything that you think you would do differently?
Not stress out as much. But are you speaking specifically to our choice of vendors, or just the overall process?
Probably just like overall, like if there are anything that you ended up learning through the process.
Yeah, definitely to not sweat the small stuff, which sounds so cliche, and like you go into it thinking like I'm not going to be a bridezilla, and like I don't think I was, but I became really hyper focused on pleasing everyone that was coming, and it's our wedding. So like, so I wouldn't stress out as much, and I would really just enjoy the process, because it went by so fast. And I think it really clicked for us on our wedding day, because we both were able to just like stop and be like, look at how this came together, and really appreciate the moment for what it was. And like most of our wedding party came from out of state. So, and just seeing them get along right away, because they hadn't even met prior to our wedding, and just seeing all of our favorite people in one place, we're like, wow, this was so worth it. And this is never like, it's never going to happen again. We're never going to have a wedding this day to enjoy, and just really actively try to slow the process down. Because I think as a bride, especially, we're trying to like check things off a list and get everything done as fast as possible, and like secure vendors and dates and everything. But it goes by so fast. Like there's no need to rush.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would do differently. What about you?
I think that's definitely something too, is, not sweating the small stuff too. I think, because I was thankful because I tried to keep that mentality as much as possible. It was hard, but I had the photographer who did our wedding. He was talking to me about this one wedding he shot, and how, the bride and the groom, they were so stressed out. And there was one time where the uplighting was the wrong color on like one of the decor. And she was like, I can't believe they got the wrong color. And then he literally like took time to be like, hey, maybe you should just like enjoy your wedding day. And like, he's like, you could see the light bulb click. And she's like, like that doesn't matter. Like, those small things don't matter, but it's so easy. Like Caitlin said, I think we both fell into it at different times, because we have family coming in and, one having opinions, like, there's people who are like, okay, well, we'll listen to you, we'll have your opinion. And, we had some people that were like, oh, like, with these restrictions, like, aren't you going to wait till the restrictions are lifted or like, do all these things? And so I think that was the hard part, where it's learning to set good boundaries, I think. And really, like Caitlin was saying, we figured it out later in the process, but I think if we figured it out earlier in the process, it would have been a little bit smoother, that it really is our day. And that, like, as much as we love the people, family, friends that, are speaking into it, at the end of the day, our voice needs to be the one that kind of has the final say in all the decisions. And yeah, I think that's the kind of thing for me. So it's less on the planning and the design stuff and more on like our emotional and, how we handled it and how we actually planned stuff.
That's amazing. And I mean, you definitely mentioned like there was some, like, I guess it is normal when you have a wedding, you have a bit of tension, like opinions flying around. And then of course, when you have family, it can't be helped.
It comes up.
But but like between both of you, were there things that you guys had to deal with as well? Like any things that you guys had friction on as you made decisions? And was there a way like you guys overcame them?
We learned a lot about each other's communication and planning styles.
Yeah.
Like Caitlin is the one that's like, when it is on the task list, like it needs to be off the task list as soon as possible, which I'm thankful for, because if it was all left up to me, it would have all been done 2 weeks prior, regardless of any changes or restrictions. So I'm like, oh, we got time. We got 3 months. We're good. And then 3 months turned to 2 months, and then turned to 1 month. And Caitlin's like, you see those things on your task list under your name that's still not done? Like, yeah, you need to do that. I'm like, oh yeah. So I think that was just the biggest thing. But at the same time, it was worth it for sure on our wedding day, like learning all those things. And it felt so much more like a victory, if you will, on that day, because it's like, okay, well, if we can get through all the stress of planning, all the things that we had to do, the hoops we had to jump through during, for the restrictions and the changes and things, like, we can get through anything pretty much. That's how I kind of felt on that day. As dramatic as that sounds, that's how I felt.
It is dramatic because we haven't even faced the worst of our lives yet.
But yeah, so definitely, learning about each other's communication, getting things done, and that's helped, I think, in marriage too.
Yeah, for sure. Wedding planning is already hard, but throw in a pandemic and like, then don't recommend. But I do recommend getting married and having a wedding because it was worth it.
Yeah.
But it was very stressful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I could just imagine. And it feels like pandemic weddings are the norm for the time being.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's gonna keep going, and but I feel like people are going to learn lessons from those who have been able to like navigate it as well, because everything does keep on changing.
Yeah, I'm just glad couples can get married now and like have their wedding, and that the industry is open for like businesses and all you folks. Like that was not fun.
Definitely. And we were talking about like all these challenges that you had to overcome, these issues that you had to work through, and even you, Caitlin, feeling that you didn't want to plan a wedding because of so many things happening, but you did mention that it was so super worth it, and the day was just worth everything that you guys went through. Can you tell us a little bit about the wedding day itself? So let's talk about happy things now and talk about like the wedding day and how it went.
So we got ready at our venue. The girls anyway arrived at like 10 a.m. And we had a hair and makeup vendor come and do the bridesmaids, and my mom and his mom and our flower girls makeup and hair, which was a lot of fun. And then I did a first look with my dad. Did a first look with him.
Mhm.
Yeah, the one with my dad was way more emotional than the one with him.
Did he cry?
Yes. We both cried. Well, like with him, I was just like, we're gonna do it. Like we're finally here. I was like playing around with him versus my dad. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was very sweet.
Are you the only girl, or do you have siblings?
Child.
Only child.
Oh.
Only
Yeah. And my dad and I have a very special relationship. He's actually my stepdad, and he came into my life when I was 4, but is like my favorite human, even though he drives me nuts. But the most similar to him out of all my parents. But anyway, the day we had our ceremony outside under a tree that had really pretty lanterns and like a drapery, and it was really sweet. Like it was really pretty. Everything kind of slowed down, I think, for you too, right?
Yeah.
For me, where it was like happening in slow motion, and our pastor officiated our wedding and gave a really good message, and then we kind of just celebrated. We took pictures, we ate, we had speeches from our maid of honor and best man, we danced, our dads gave speeches. It was the bomb.
It was good. It was one of those things where it was so surreal because we planned, we looked at it, we had all the timelines, everything, but when it actually came to the day, it was just a totally different thing than either of us imagined. So I know that's not necessarily the expectation or the experience that everyone has, but I think for us it was, it couldn't have gone better. Now, was it perfect? No. Like, for example, like Caitlin designed these super cute, amazing programs that
about good
had,
things.
like all these great things on them, but they didn't get passed out. And we didn't find out until after.
I was like, why do we have so much extra? And he's like, I printed like 100. I'm like,
I'm pretty sure we had extra. But it's even in those things, like,
very small thing.
Like we didn't even, but the fact that we didn't even know. So I think that's a big advice too, where for us, we wanted to have our bridal parties and especially our maid of honor and our, and my best man kind of filter all those things. So we didn't really hear about any of the bad things. And so I think that's something I would definitely want to recommend to anyone, is like have someone that's going to be your buffer person, whether it's your wedding planner or coordinator or someone in your party that knows what you would want to run by any last minute changes. Because there's things that happen, and like I could see out of the corner of my eye some things changing and here and there, but I was at peace knowing that people were taking care of it. And my job was just to enjoy. And we did.
We're very different.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I didn't know anything was going wrong. It was very dreamy. It was a lot of fun. It did, like I said, we tried to enjoy the moment and make sure everything went by as slow as possible. But it was a pretty early night. Like our venue, we had to be out of there by 8 p.m., which I was exhausted by then. But at the same time, I wanted more time to be with everyone and to be like celebrating with everyone. But I think it was worth all the stress and drama. Like there wasn't real drama, but I was dramatic. And and like to this day, we look at like pictures in our video, and like every day I'm like, let's get married again. And he's like,
again?
Nah. I'm like, but it was so pretty. Like
So you went from not wanting to
crazy
wedding to wanting another one?
I don't know if I'd want to plan it, but
The Christopher will.
For sure.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I think that's a sign of a good wedding, when you kind of don't want it to end.
Yeah, I mean, I hope everyone else had fun. We had fun.
We had fun.
The food was good. I didn't eat enough.
That's true. That's the hard part.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
I was talking to people. I don't really have complaints other than the programs not being passed out. They're really cute. Now I just have like 50 programs that we can give.
You post them on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like post them on Instagram because you worked hard on them. It should be appreciated.
Like I found a template on Etsy for super cheap and like made our own story and didn't have to pay an arm and a leg to get these printed, and they didn't even get seen.
That's true.
But do you guys have did it at least like? So it wasn't passed around. Was it like photographed or?
I don't even think it was photographed.
Yeah, we mostly wanted to have people photos.
We do have like a really cool guest book that we're glad we did, because we did that like Insta Polaroid camera for our guest book sign-in.
Those are amazing.
We had people sign in and like leave notes, and we have it like as a coffee table book now. So it's really cool to
really
look back on. Yeah.
And then you guys can like just flip through it and read the messages and look at the photos. That sounds really amazing.
Yeah, I think it was one of our favorite little little things.
For sure.
Amazing. And then so when I probably just wanted to like ask this one thing is if you guys went through the process planning your wedding, and if you could give advice to like people who are planning. I mean, you shared a lot earlier, but if you could tell them something, like anyone who's starting to plan it, what do you share with them?
Go at your own pace. I think from a girl's perspective or the bride's perspective, like I said earlier, we're trying to get everything done, but fully like explore venues, explore photographers. Don't just go with the cheapest option or the one that is all inclusive. Like you get this one day to do this. So if it takes more time than you want it to, that's okay. And to just enjoy it as much as possible. I mean, hopefully you have a partner or fiance that is willing to be a part of the process and like wants to be involved and have this is sidebar, but enjoy trying on wedding dresses. I made 4 appointments at different places, and I found my dress at the first place, and I canceled the rest of my appointments. And I had so much fun trying on wedding dresses that I look back and I'm like, I wish I just took the time to play dress up. And that was something, I don't know, that's something that some girls think of as a chore, but like I really missed it. I love it.
You're gonna go again.
Maybe if anyone's looking for a wedding dress model, I want to try out.
There you go.
But yeah, we can go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on a tangent.
No, it's great. For me, I think speaking from the groom side of things, I think just having the understanding that there's a lot of pressure for the bride, whether you like it or not. There's a lot of pressure on that side of things, whether that's warranted or really fair or not. Like that's just normally how it is. It's kind of assumed that, the bride's going to be the planner. The bride is, it has to be everything that the bride wants, which is true. But I think the mistake that I made initially was I'd be like, oh yeah, it's your day, it's your day, it's your day, and not giving things that I actually wanted and contributing a lot of my ideas, because I was like, oh no, I want to make sure that she's the one happy, which is good. But at the same time, it is a collaboration. It's both of our days. So it should never be like one person's say over the other person's say. It definitely has to be like, okay, these are some options. Like, what do you think? Like always being ready to give genuine input and show that you're invested. Like there was definitely times for sure when it's like, we're both like, do you even want to do this with me? Because I'd be like so passive because I wanted her to choose what she wanted. But I think that was the biggest takeaway for me, is from the groom side, make sure to give good input, be supportive, and all those things. Don't just let the bride do it all. Yeah.
Guys, don't just say it's up to you.
Yes. Yes.
I agree. Yeah, because we do appreciate the input.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to agree with me, but I know you appreciate the input.
Mm-hmm.
You're a wise man.
Now,
And it takes men decades to understand what you just said in like 45 seconds. So I commend you, Chris. Very awesome.
Hear that. Thank you guys so much for, sharing your story with us. I'm happy for you guys. I mean, I met Caitlin. She still wasn't married. You guys were still in the middle of planning, and I'm so glad, that it worked out for you guys and that you still had like an amazing day. I know it was tough getting there. Just hearing about it, and I'm sure it's different being in your shoes and experiencing it. But just hearing your story, I can also see that it was worth it for you guys, that you guys were able to really enjoy the day itself, and you guys ended up just really focusing on what mattered, and you had these supportive people with you, who also had your best interests in mind and were determined to make it amazing for you as well. And we do have these questions, that we ask all of our guests, and so the first question, so question one is, what is your favorite resource that you would recommend for couples who are planning their wedding in Hawaii?
Resource? Like, Instagram.
Instagram?
Like, specifically in Hawaii?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
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 Instagram and friends. Word of mouth. I would hear about companies I'd never heard of through conversations of people who were planning their wedding or getting married, or is Instagram a bad answer? What did we use?
Pinterest?
Or just planning your wedding in Hawaii. So if you use Pinterest a lot, then, it was a good resource for you.
Okay, yeah, we used Pinterest. Etsy was helpful.
Yeah.
Because we recreate things that we saw, so we didn't have to buy it or find things for a lot cheaper than, I don't know, Amazon or like a different company that we would have to order from online.
I think what you said too with the people, like, those are good mechanisms to get ideas from, like, in a big sense, but like the actual nuts and bolts, like going to couples that we knew who had gotten married either recently or anything like that, just to know. Like, we talked to one couple that did a hotel wedding. Like, we knew of other couples who were doing other kinds of venues, and just kind of getting the pros and cons of that from personal experience. Because I think that's the biggest thing, I think, that impacted us as far as, getting down to the nitty gritty of choosing vendors, choosing venues, is like Ken was saying, like, it's one thing to see it on Instagram and how beautiful it is, but it's another thing to like ask the couple, like, well, how was like the back end, how was the service? Like, did you guys, enjoy working with the planner? Did you guys enjoy, that kind of stuff? Because there's so many things that go on behind the scenes. So I would say that too.
The knot was helpful. And I mean, it was helpful, but at the same time, I think like a lot of things, it's behind in Hawaii, where there weren't as many reviews as like if we were to get married on the mainland. At the beginning, your website was incredibly helpful with just like the list of resources that you guys offer. And that's not always, I think you guys might be the only people that make it that accessible without having to go, like without having to really commit to working with you right away. You offer that venue list, the photographer list, and it's so well organized and pretty, which I really appreciate. I didn't even know HNL Studios, which is dumb on my part. I didn't know you guys were a local company. When I first found you, I was like, do I know them? Because you guys followed me on Instagram after I followed you, and I was like, because like I know Greg worked with you folks, and I was like, who is this? Like, so many mutual friends, but so you guys were fantastic, just like in that beginning part for me anyway. because you do such a good job at curating your aesthetic and making resources accessible. So thank you, because that's not really, well, I couldn't really find that elsewhere, to be honest.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate it. Yeah. Do you guys have anything else to add? Or
thank you for inviting us.
Yes, thank
we
you
hope
for
this was helpful.
Yeah.
yes. And then one last question I have for you guys is, what are your hobbies or things that you like to do for fun together, or even individually?
I like to read. We like to go to coffee shops. We sound so basic. We like to go to the beach.
Yes. Beach.
We used to hike a lot. Christopher got injured on Thanksgiving,
that
so
kind of
he hasn't
took hiking
really.
out.
Yeah, we haven't hiked since. Well, even before that. What are our hobbies?
Yeah, I mean,
eating.
We love food. So whether it's going out to like try a new place, like we literally have a running list of restaurants.
Do you have a favorite place?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Go to, or like best kept secret, or like most people don't know about this place or this type of dish.
I love scratch for brunch or dinner. I love chin chin for a wine bar and fries. But we also really got creative during engagement because we were saving as much as we could.
Sure.
Like we each put aside a paycheck a month to go toward our wedding. And so we would barbecue at the beach or have like picnics, mostly picnics at the beach, like pack snacks or like bring a little hibachi grill and like make food. Or eat in our parents' houses because they want to give us food.
Right?
Any other hobbies?
We like to watch TV shows. We like to. One thing we're doing is like we both have had like shows or movies that we've enjoyed separately, and so it's like introducing the other person to like this show. Like I watched it. I love it. Like I think you would like it. So that's been kind of cool because some of them is like I tried to get her into like Mandalorian, and she's like, "Yeah, it's great, fantastic."
It's pretty good. I haven't finished it, but he got me to watch it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. And so there's some like that where it's like, oh, maybe it is, but like we also watched Ted Lasso together, and that was one where she's like, it's soccer. Like I know nothing about soccer, but she ended up loving the show. So I think stuff like that where it's like getting to know each other still and still dating each other even though we're married, I think is important.
And hanging out with friends. Because we have friends.
Yeah.
Few, but we have friends.
Amazing. And what about you, Caitlin? What have you introduced? What shows have you introduced to him, to Christopher?
Sex in the City. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's on Amazon. It's about a woman comedian in like 1960s New York, maybe even before that. I love her and think she's super funny. What else? I don't watch as much TV as This Is Us.
Oh yeah,
I make him watch this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't make him watch Grey's Anatomy.
That's true. That's a big commitment though.
Yeah, it's acceptable reasons. I'll just keep that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. It was great being able to speak with you guys.
Thank you.
We definitely learned a lot from you. Especially, with the journey that you guys have had. And you provided like a lot of insight into the process, really, the journey of planning a wedding. So we really thank you for giving us, this time to be able to hear your story and, speak with you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And thank you, Charles, for thinking of us, thinking to ask us. Yeah. And thank you for coordinating. It was fun.
For sure. Completely our pleasure.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Charles, or do you have any
No, and just thank you guys again. Like honestly, like people need to hear this. You know, people need to hear, like how you said, like it helped when people would kind of share their experiences, but a lot of people don't. You know, a lot of people are either not local. Like for us, especially, maybe like I want to say like at least half of our couples are coming from destination, but they were actually originally from Hawaii. Like either the bride was from Hawaii, and then you know they moved to go to college or whatever, and then you know met somebody and came back. So they're local, but they don't have the connections that they used to have, you know, that they can readily talk to and ask. So this definitely will help a lot of people, I'm sure. So thank you guys.
So yeah, it's not easy.
Anything we can do, because we're always like, we know one couple that just recently got engaged, and we're always like, anything you need, like we can help you. Like we've been there, done that, so you don't have to. So like just let us know. So I think that's kind of definitely our heart too, is to help as many as we can.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in with us and watching. And if you're looking for wedding photography, videography, and photo booth, or if you're looking for wedding resources, you can visit us at www.hnlstudios.com. And we do invite you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment just to make sure that you don't miss any future episodes. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, guys. Bye.